Assalamu alaikum students, welcome back to unit number 11 of your social studies books, The Role of Media. We've already discussed half of the chapter before, so before delving into the next half, let us take a quick recap of what we've learned so far. Okay, so we started this chapter when the British took control over Asia, basically the subcontinent. So there were runners before who sent messages from one place to another, and then there were animals that were used to send messages. But the advent of electricity and technology helped people to send messages over long distances very quickly. So basically, what was the device that was actually used in this? That was an electric telegraph. Okay, then we moved on to railway communication. So basically, when I was of your age, I was so fascinated by railway trains that how come a driver know that he has to stop and give way to another train? And how can two trains just, cross each other without interfering? And when does the driver know that this is the exact right time to switch the tracks? And I'm sure you must have all these questions in your mind too. But now we know the answers to this. This is basically because of signals. There are signalmen, there are signal bars, there are signal boxes, and all of this technology is basically helping the railways safer. So there are no crashes. Okay, then we moved on to the news in print, and we know how the conspiracies of the British were exposed and how dawn was started. And then after independence, there were more newspapers that joined Pakistan, and we also had a look at the paper where the news of Qaid-e-Azam's death was declared. So basically, a large number of people could get news from the newspapers. And then moving on to the news on air, the era of radios, that how the radio sales increased and that medium was used for broadcasting as well as giving opinions. And from the radio broadcasting, we moved on to television broadcasting. And the first public service television broadcasting company was BBC. And after that, Pakistan Television began broadcasting in 1964. And that's the famous logo of our Pakistan Television PTV. Okay, so the new topic for today is advertising. I'm sure you all must be very aware of what is advertising. When you're watching the television, there are advertisements. When you're even playing on your tabs, there are advertisements, right? And when you're watching the YouTube cartoons, there are advertisements and you want to quickly overcome those advertisements, right? So basically, what is advertisement? Advertisement is telling about your products or about your services. And this is something not new. It was practiced even before the ancient times. The ancient Egypt practiced it on papyrus. Papyrus is basically a plant and that was used in ancient Egypt for advertisements, and even wood and even stones. The first newspaper advertisement was printed in France in 1836. A company paid the newspaper to print the advertisement, and soon all newspapers had advertisements. Even on television, when you see an advertisement, the companies have paid for that advertisements. So this involves a lot of money to be spent, but in return, we are getting the information we desire. That is about the products and the services for any company. Okay, so let's have a look at an old soap advertisement from a newspaper. What does it state? It says 9 out of 10 lovely screen stars use it for smooth skin. And it's just basically an advertisement of a soap. So what the soap company is trying to tell the people there? That you should buy this soap because the lovely screen stars use it for their smooth skin. So your smooth skin is just needs a toilet soap. But of course, now we know that we need toilet soap not just because for the smooth skin but also for the eradication of germs. And I'm sure in this global pandemic, you must be and you should be washing your hands for 20 seconds. Is that so? Very nice. Now moving on to the next slide. Okay, so another way to advertise is to tell people about the goods or service. And how can you tell the people about your goods or service? You may either call out to people in towns and cities. To make people listen the advertiser could sing, dance or entertain people in any other way. Just for instance, when the hawkers they come by to your streets, aren't they all calling out their products and aren't they all singing? So this is how the radio advertisements also work. They entertain with music and songs. These help to make the people remember about the advertisement. Radio advertisements could reach many people at the same time. In the 1920s, businesses in the USA began to pay for radio programs. In return, their products were talked about on the radio. In the 1940s, they began to do the same on television. And that is how the trend for paying for the advertisement started. And even in today's world, aren't the catchy and most exotic lyrics of this song catch your attention? For example, have you seen the commercial of Chili Milli? Doesn't it have a very upbeat music to it and a very funky lyrics as well? And that is why we remember their advertisements, right? But the most recent ways of advertising include now social media platforms or social media applications like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. etc. But do you know at first most countries only had public service radio and television stations? These did not have advertising. So what they do there, they raised money from licenses or funding from governments. Like basically the government supported them. Government used to give information to people about those products. The USA was one of the very few countries that had TV and radio advertisements. So this basically marks the end of our chapter. Let's have a look at what we've learned so far. The newspapers, radio stations and television companies help to change people's opinions as well as telling them the news. Radio and television entertained people as well as gave them news. So now moving on to the question and answer of this chapter, you just have to do one more question, that is to complete the chart, and you have to copy this chart in your notebook. There are three mediums given on this chart: newspaper, radio and television. Now thinking about the era when the newspaper or radio or television started, you need to write down any good quality or a bad quality of all these mediums. You have to keep it in mind that what news was printed or broadcasted at that era, and where the news came from, and who could they get the news, and also who could read or understand it. So thinking along these lines, you need to write any good or bad thing about for these mediums. If there are any questions related to this chapter, you may ask from me. I'm available. Till then, Allah Hafiz.
Thank you for listening to our lecture. If you like this video, kindly hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. All the videos will be uploaded on our YouTube channel for the completion of syllabus. Also, hit the bell icon for getting updates regarding the YouTube videos. If you loved this video, please don't forget to share it with your family and friends. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.